Today I'm telling the story of how I literally almost drowned. No joke, I'm not even kidding, this actually happened. This all starts off when I was 7 years old, right? So when I was 7, although this was about 10 years ago, so this would have been 2012. My family used to go up to this place, I'm not gonna say the name of the place, obviously, because I'm not trying to dox my location, but it was basically like 2 hours away from where we lived. We'd always pack up our bags every single year, and we'd always just go to this place, and we basically rented out the same house every single time. It was basically like this little family holiday trip, right? It was in the summer, it was always around like mid-January, and you know, it was always a great time. It was directly after my birthday. I'd be able to test out all my birthday gifts that I gotten from that year, and it was just a great time. So normally we'd end up going to this place for like a week, and this time we went from like January the 13th to I think the 20th. And back in 2012, everything was going swimmingly. You know, I was just doing what every 7-year-old would do, which is which really isn't a whole lot, I'll be honest with you. It was basically just like play with my brother and you know, just see my family, just do like grade 1 homework and everything. Like, well, we didn't do homework, but like just grade 1 work, which was honestly just like basic writing and, you know, just coloring and stuff like that. Like there really wasn't much to my 7-year-old life, and I don't think that there's really much to many 7-year-olds' life anyway. So this story time really starts off on the second day. So the first 2 days were fine, you know, but like me and my family were just chilling. We went on some of the rides. It was like a little festival near where we were staying, and you know, it was just a whole lot of fun. So at the place that we stayed at, right, there was a pool. There's a pool in the front yard, and you know, there was like a fence around it to make sure that obviously idiots like me didn't fall into the pool and drown. And as you can see by the title of this video, the whole not drowning thing, I didn't really do a great job at that, I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to tell you about that now. So at the time when we went to this family holiday, it was like mid-January, so normally like the forecast was basically 30 degrees every single day, which in Fahrenheit, I'll actually translate that now for you guys in the US. So 30 degrees Celsius is actually 86 degrees Fahrenheit. So for those of you in America, it was basically 86 degrees every single day of the week. So I was like, it's really, really warm. So it's really warm, but it's like, it's not too hot to the point where it's unbearable when it's like 100 for you guys in America, or like 40 degrees in Australia. So it was basically like perfect conditions, right? And for some reason on this second day, the weather basically said it was like 20 degrees Celsius, which in America is like 68 degrees. So think about that, right? So it dropped down to that low, which isn't too bad, right? So for the place where I live in like very southern Australia, which means it does get really cold in the winter. It gets to like 15 degrees Celsius or like 60 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit in America. So normally I'm kind of used to like chillier temperatures, but overall, right, our temperature is pretty bearable. Like from about 15 degrees Celsius to like 30 is where it normally averages out in Australia, or at least where I live. So in this place we were staying at, it was basically peaking at like 30 degrees, but for some reason on this second day, it decided to drop down to like 15 to 20, and it was basically like raining and everything, and it got kind of cold. So I asked my dad, I was like, can I go jump in the pool? Like I want to go for a swim, and he said, no, it's going to be way too cold. Like you should probably just wait for the sun to come up over the water. So basically the sun would like heat up the pool and it'd be easy to go in. So by this point it was like 10 a.m. when I was asking my dad this. I was like, okay, yeah, fair enough. I should probably listen to him, because I hate cold water so much. Like if there's one thing you should know about me, I hate being in cold water or just being in the presence of cold water. It's just extremely uncomfortable for me, and I don't think I'll ever get over the fear of just jumping into cold water. I don't know what it is, but I just shrivel up and I just tense up and I just can't move. Like imagine a cold windy day and just imagine that just being like constantly around you. Like it's awful. I don't know how people jump into cold water and just like survive constantly. I don't get it. Like water has to be a decently hot temperature for me to like live in it and just survive in it for more than like 20 minutes. So it got to about 1 or 2 p.m. and basically the temperature reached its max around that time. It was basically like 20 degrees Celsius or like 68 for you guys in America, and the sun ended up coming out over the water, meaning that the water was a little bit warmer. Now to be honest, it wasn't really that warm. Like the pool didn't have a great heater, meaning that it was always going to be cold. So it was basically up to the sun to make it as warm as possible. So I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna jump into the pool, and I dipped both my legs in, and it really wasn't great, but you know, it was bearable enough to jump in. It was bearable for my 7-year-old body to jump in. Now keep in mind, right, I was a very skinny kid, and I still am pretty skinny at this point as well. I weigh like 66 kilos at like 6 foot at the moment. So basically I'm 6 foot and I weigh 66 kilos, which isn't, it's not awful, but like it is a lot. It's on the light side, alright? I'm a light kid. A lot of other people around my height are probably weigh about like 70 to 80 kilos. So I'm kind of down there, you know, like I'm not really, I don't really weigh a lot. And that is due to the fact that I do exercise a lot and I don't really eat much. I mean, I try to eat a lot, but for some reason, I eat like the tiniest little meal and I end up getting full. I don't know what it is. I can eat a lot of food, but I can't eat very fast, meaning that I just, it's hard for me to gain weight, basically. So anyway, me being 7 years old, I probably weighed like 28 kilos at this point. Like I was super skinny, I was super light. I was very athletic though, and I still am pretty athletic, which is something I am very happy about. Like I am very happy that I can be athletic. But it doesn't really help when it's like 20 degrees and you're trying to jump into a pool and basically the only thing protecting you is a little bit of skin on the outside, because I had no muscle whatsoever. Like I was basically the skinniest kid there, so any bit of temperature would go straight through to my bones and it would shiver me to my core. So when I jump into that pool, let me tell you, it was freezing. So I jump in, I end up gradually getting towards my waist area, then up towards my shoulders, and once my shoulders were in, it was kind of like, it kind of got to a point where I was like, okay, this is a lot colder than I expected it to be. And my dad jumped in with me, he was like, yeah, it's a lot colder than you thought, isn't it? I was like, yeah, it is pretty cold. Now comes the point where my sister jumps into the pool. So for those of you that don't know, I have a sister that's like 6 years older than me. To my sister, if you're watching this right now, I'm not gonna say your name because I don't want to reveal your name, but like, hi sister. So anyway, my sister ends up jumping in the pool. So at this point, she's 14 years old and I'm 7 years old, because she's like 6 to 7 years older than me. She's like 6.5 years older than me. She jumps into the pool, right, and immediately starts just trolling around with me. Now keep in mind, since I was 7 years old, I was at the shallow end. Obviously, the shallow end was probably like 1 meter 30, and I was a bit taller than that. And the deep end was probably like 1 meter 80, which is basically my height now. I mean, I'm like 183, meaning I can probably still stand at the deep end, but like the deep end for me when I was 7 years old was an absolute no-go zone. Like there was no way I was going to the deep end. So the pool was probably about like 12.5 meters. Like it really wasn't a big pool, but like it was long enough to where I could keep well away from the deep end. So anyway, I'm just chilling at the shallow end, and for some reason, right, my dad decides to go inside. I can't remember what he was doing. I think he was like grabbing a drink or something like that. And so basically the only people that are in the pool are my 14-year-old sister and me, who's 7 years old. Now keep in mind, Rise, I said this before, I was a skinny child, like a really skinny child, and I still am, but like I think I'm probably a lot better now, obviously, because I went through puberty and all that sort of stuff. But my sister was a lot stronger than me, like a lot stronger than me. She could probably pick me up and throw me across the backyard if she tried to. Obviously back when I was like 7 and she was 14. Obviously it'd be a little bit different now, but like she could probably pick me up and just throw me across the yard. Like I really wasn't that heavy and I really wasn't that hard to just push around. It makes me sound very, very weak, and to be honest, I was very, very weak at 7. But basically, what she decided to do while my dad was gone is pick me up and start moving me towards the deep end. Obviously I started kicking and screaming. I was like, no, bring me back to the shallow end. I don't want to go to the deep end. I can't swim that far. And my sister said, yes, you could. You literally take swimming lessons, because when I was a little kid, I used to do swimming lessons, and I actually got pretty decent at swimming. But the unfortunate thing is that I hated swimming, so I stopped when I was like 12 years old. Yeah, no, swimming. So like I was pretty good at swimming. I could do freestyle. I could do backstroke. I could do basically all the strokes. But I really didn't like swimming at all. I hated going in the water, and I still do hate going in the water. I really don't like swimming, and this is part of the reason. So basically, when my sister decided to pick me up for some reason, she basically picked me up and like started taking me towards the deep end. Now my sister isn't the tallest person. She's probably like 170 centimeters, like if even that, to be honest with you. So she couldn't really stand at the deep end either. So she was basically like just kicking her feet up. Like she couldn't even touch the bottom at this point, and she was holding me up as well, which is very, very concerning. And she basically pushed me to where the water was like 170 centimeters like deep. So at this point, right, there's no chance I'm touching the bottom. Like I am like well above the water. There is no shot I'm ever gonna touch the bottom. There's just no chance. So I'm sitting there trying to swim, right? And keep in mind, I did say I did do swimming lessons, but when the pool is extremely cold, my muscles are contracting and it's really hard for me to keep above the water. It really wasn't that easy. So eventually, right, I'm sort of slowly, gradually just going down into the water, and my sister's sitting there just laughing at me, just being like, haha, I pushed you away from the shallow end, lol. And I'm sitting there like, please, like, pick me up and pull me back, like, I don't want to be here. And I start freaking out, right? I'm like, oh my god, I'm gradually sinking into the water, and I'm trying to push myself up, but like, obviously I'm a skinny little child, and I'm freezing up, and it's just not working. So I end up going under the water, right? Like, I end up sinking, and eventually, like, my mouth goes under the water, and then eventually my nose goes under the water. At this point, I literally can't breathe, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, this is it. This is it. I'm done. You know, it's been a great 7 years of my life. I've had a great time, but unfortunately, this is where the story ends. This is where the story of Ricky ends. There will be no Glider Guy channel. That there will be no YouTube career. That there will be no silver play play button, you know, the story ends here, right? But then luckily, right, my 14-year-old sister, my dumb 14-year-old sister, actually thought, hang on, this probably isn't right. Like, my 7-year-old brother is drowning. So what she decided to do is pick me up and pull me out of the water. And at that point, right, I'm pretty sure I inhaled some chlorine, like into my chest. Because obviously, right, when I'm 7 years old, my natural reaction is to start breathing. But when I'm under the water, obviously I can't breathe. So I was basically just inhaling water, which was very, very scary. At that point, I kind of realized, okay, I'm getting no oxygen into my system. Like, I'm kind of screwed at this point. I gotta get out of this water fast. So then my sister picks me up out of the water. I start heavily breathing. I start going, you know, when someone starts suffocating and then they end up having to do that whenever they can finally catch their breath again. That was basically exactly what I was doing. And at this point, my dad finally came out of their house and saw me struggling and basically runs over the pool, picks me up and basically puts me onto the concrete and starts like trying to make sure I can breathe properly. And she starts yelling at my sister saying, "What'd you do to him? Like why? Like what? He almost drowned." And I'm just sitting there just like crying because of that absolutely traumatic experience that has just happened to me. And I'm sitting there trying to catch my breath, and eventually everything seems to be okay, but that was a very, very scary point in my life. So yeah, moral of the story is, if you're 7 years old, don't go to the deep end, and if you're a 14-year-old sister, like my sister was, don't drag people into the deep end, because that can be very, very scary. So yeah, that's all for today's story time. If you guys want to send in story times, go to my Instagram at GliderGuy13, you might be featured in a video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.